Hello, this is S.K. Williams, and this is a short video. I'm working on a longer version of it, but I don't know if it will go up to the tube of you, or if I shall post it to the shoot of bit. However, at the time I am recording this, I have no intention of even posting this shortened version to the shoot of bit, because I am working on another video, one on the doctrine of the Trinity, which I want to get right before I post it, and will be the next thing I post on the shoot of bit. But that doesn't mean that I can't post anything else, so even if I get done with this video that I am talking about making in the future, I shan't be posting it right away to the shoot of bit, unless it is done after the Trinity video is done. However, I would like to discuss briefly the myth-making that we see within the self-described and self-declared skeptic community. The group of Aathoist freethinkers who have embraced atheism and rejected religion because there's no evidence for religion and only empirical evidence counts. These bastions of rationality and critical thinking and scientific skepticism that inevitably always arrive at the same conclusions based upon the same facts and not simply repeat what they are told by other atheists. Of course, I am being facetious. The modern-day self-declared skeptics never think for themselves. They simply repeat the same old tired nonsense that they saw other atheists repeat. And, ironically, the atheists they listen to are also simply repeating dogmas. And it is very rare to have them add anything actually new, and when they do, it is usually slight, and it builds on already existing mythology. The modern-day skeptic community is in fact a form of religion. Saying that, of course, means that, to them, I am saying, atheism is a religion. This is because it is easier for them to ridicule someone saying, atheism is a religion, than actually listen to what I'm actually saying. Especially since they have a prescripted response for people, especially religious people, saying atheism is a religion. They will talk about the dictionary definition of atheism as a lack of belief in a god, and how atheism is not a religion, atheism is a lack of belief in a god, atheism is a religion like not collecting stamps as a hobby, or some other gibberish like that. And they don't seem to realize that merely saying something like atheism is a religion, like not collecting stamps is a hobby, proves that they have, in fact, made a religion out of their atheism. Because it's very obvious that they are quoting other atheists. And the idea that they have nothing in common with other atheists but a lack of belief in a god evaporates the more you talk to them, since it is obvious that they will listen to other atheist YouTube channels, and that their lame excuse of saying, I listen to many channels, even ones I disagree with, doesn't mean anything when you see them cheering on atheist leaders and presenters, and then repeating what they say. It is especially obvious when you see atheists flooding Christian YouTube channels, all saying the same things, and usually not really addressing what the Christian has said in the video, but all claiming to address what they're saying. And it turns out that some atheist popular on YouTube, like the Liar of Zod, or Pastor Plink, or Pastor Pologia, has made a video about the person, and the video that you're watching in particular, and the atheist did their hooping and hollering at them and said, oh yeah, hell yeah, show it to those Christers, they're evil, and then, after watching the atheist video, rip apart the Christian video, showing it to be evil and immoral, exposing the evil and immorality of Christianity as a whole, will then flock to the channel to express their outrage at this evil Christian. But the majority of the time, they neglect to tell you that they've listened to an atheist channel. They'll tell you things like, I was searching and I found this video randomly. And it's supposed to be just a massive coincidence that tons of atheists, by coincidence, happen to find exactly the same video and said exactly the same things, that also aren't actually in the video that they are criticizing. There is an obvious reality that the modern-day atheist movement is less about atheism and more about hating Christians. And as such, this combined with the fact that they are uniformly following secular humanist beliefs, even if they don't call themselves secular humanists, and are all promoting the same left-wing political stances, shows that they indeed have common beliefs. They even call themselves like-minded individuals. They like talking to other atheists because they like being around like-minded individuals. They want it, of course, both ways. They want to be people who merely lack belief in a god, nothing more, nothing less. And yet they want to have beliefs and values they stand on. They want to be lone wolf individuals who have nothing in common with other atheists but their lack of belief in a god, while at the same time being like-minded with other atheists because they have shared beliefs and shared values. In reality, the lack of belief in a god definition of atheism was created by Anthony Flew in the 1970s. I know it is dogma of the modern-day atheistic religion that they follow, that the idea that atheism has always been defined as a lack of belief in a god, and that A means without, and that theism means belief in a god, and you put those together and you get without belief in a god, and they'll usually say that after saying, "You're confused, let me explain, A means without, theism means belief in a god. Put those together, you get without belief in a god. There, I hope that helps." And of course I've heard the same ridiculous nonsense several times. It's as stupid as talking about Christian privilege and talking about Christians having a persecution complex and interpreting disagreement as hate, when I have to talk like a bloody cartoon character in order for my Tube of You videos not to be axed, whilst they can say whatever they want against Christianity and get away with it. But you see, therein lies the problem. Because they actually are secular humanists, and they actually do have myths and legends and doctrines and dogmas, and chief among those are the dogmas of their own superiority. And one of the ways they shore that up is less about rationality and more about morality. We only know that atheists are moral and full of dignity and kindness and empathy, whilst the religious are not, especially Christians. And to prove that, they will look to history, of course exempting certain examples with the same sort of ridiculous excuses that you would expect from them. Such as claiming this or that group were Christian and did evil, thus proving Christianity is evil, like talking about crusades and inquisition and witch hunts. But if you were to point out the evils done by atheist regimes such as the Soviet Union, or even continuing in the present day by communist China, you are told that they, communist countries, killed in the name of communism, not atheism, and that atheism had nothing to do with their evils. Which is disingenuous, considering that the atheistic governments are literally running on state atheism. You must be an atheist to be in office. And it's not like the evils that they claim were caused by Christianity were created by just believing a god existed. And it's especially disingenuous since, while it is not, of course, popular to admit so they don't, modern-day atheists are themselves Marxists. People like Himmet Mehta, the self-declared friendly atheist, is a socialist, and socialism and communism aren't really distinct things. People like to say they are, but you can look it up easily online. The terms were used interchangeably in the 19th century, and there's not really a distinction. And it's obvious that his thought is influenced by Marxist sources, especially since all of his arguments come from the same rationalist press association of atheists from the 19th century and the early 20th century. People like Charles Bradlaugh and Joseph McCabe and Carl Pearson, and Without fail, they were all supportive of the Soviet Union when it came into existence. Even people like Bertrand Russell were. So you're not really dealing with people who are being completely honest with themselves. After all, the modern-day skepticism, the skeptic community, they claim to be all about deconstruction and deconstructing the faith and deconstructing Christianity. Christy Burke goes on and on and on about deconstruction. Well, deconstruction is a Marxist method, and it comes out of Marxist thinking. You can look that up as well. The scarce resource theory of religious violence put out by the divine prophet Hector Adeylfs most holy. Hallowed be his name! Hallowed be the name of science! Hallowed be the name of reason! Hallowed be the name of no God! Well, the scarce resource theory of religious violence is simply a reskinning of the Marxist scarce resource theory. Scarce resource theory came from Karl Marx and Robert Ingalls in the 19th century, and is in the Communist Manifesto as well as the Naked Capitalist. It's the Naked Communist, I mean. It's obvious that these are Marxist ideas. It's obvious that modern-day atheists, because they are getting their ideas from 19th century free-thought movement, are dialectic materialists. They are left-wing politically. You can look that up. It's not that difficult to find. Even Aaron Raw ran for political office as a Democrat, for instance. He failed, of course, but he ran for political office as a Democrat. And you're not going to find very much outside of Marxist thinking within the modern-day atheist movement. But one of the things they love to do is to point to a certain mustachioed dictator from a Central European country, one whose name I can't freely use, though they can. They can use it because they have atheist privilege. I do not have Christian privilege. There's no such thing as Christian privilege. But they can name this person. I can't. But I will be using a euphemism in order to get my video across. And I shan't be going into detail for the same reason. I will be instead making a longer video on the shoot a bit later, and I shall announce when that goes up. But when I make that longer video, I will not be talking like this. I will be talking like a normal person, or at least like I normally do. But one of the things that you'll notice is that they claim Charlie Chaplin from the movie The Dictator was a devout Catholic, and that the Catholic Church supported him. In fact, they'll say that all the Christian churches did, because he was a devout Christian and he represented Christianity, and even his anti-Elvinism, and I'm using elves, by the way, as a euphemism, so you know what I'm really talking about. The reason that Charlie Chaplin hated elves so much was because he was a devout Christian, and it was Christian doctrine that they were the killers of Jesus, and it all came from his deep-seated Christian faith, and of course all of that is sheer nonsense. Charlie Chaplin embraced sterilization and eugenics, which was deeply opposed by the Catholic Church. It's not like this is just some sort of lover's spat. The Catholic Church firmly opposed the Charlie Chaplin party. But what gets me interested is that simply explaining these things it does not work, because it's part of the dogma of their religion, and it is a religion, that Charlie Chaplin was a devout Catholic, and that his anti-Elvinism came from his Catholicism, and that the Catholic Church supported the political movement that he founded, and so did the Protestants, and it was a purely Christian movement. And of course this is silly. And the reason it's silly can be discovered if one were to go to the Internet Archives. You see, on the Internet Archives you can look up books that talk about Charlie Chaplin's political movements. And if you type in certain searches that I did, without of course slurring your speech because you didn't need to, you would find something very interesting about how other writers contemporary to Charlie Chaplin and contemporary to the events that were going on were rather obviously negatively inclined to the idea of the church being supportive of him, and in fact openly stated that the churches were opposed to him. You can look up the works of Conrad Hayden, for example, or Michael T. Florinsky. You can look up the writings of Franz Newman or of Bueller Rohan, or is that Rohan Bueller? You can even look up the examples stated by the Acharya Narendra Deva. You can look up these works, and they will tell you that Charlie Chaplin's political party was hostile and incompatible to the Christian faith, and that the churches were opposed to him, and that there was antagonism between them. There was also antagonism between the Catholic Church and Mithoulegy, regardless of the fact that the atheist movement would prefer to say otherwise. You can look it up also in other venues. For example, you can read Tom Rockmore's book from 1992, but the benefit of the others that I had mentioned previous is that they were written previous, and they were written during the time of Charlie Chaplin. So you can actually see what Chaplin's policies were understood as by people living through them. You can also look up James MacDonald Ramsey, or James Ramsey MacDonald. You can look up Leonard Woolf. You can look up Fenrir Brockway. Fenrir Brockway. Talking this way is bloody hell. You can look up W.H. Mallock. You can look up others who very obviously would inform you that there was great antagonism between Charlie Chaplin and the Catholic Church, and between Mithoulegy and the Catholic Church. They did not like each other, they were not supportive of each other, and you can see how they openly describe this animosity between the two, and how the Christian churches viewed the ideology of Charlie Chaplin to be antithetical to their beliefs. If you wish, you can look them up. I will be doing a video elaborating upon this topic. I, of course, cannot release it here, but I will at least notify you when it goes up, and I may put either a truncated, edited version here, or at the very least, or I may create a new version of it for here. But if you haven't noticed, I speak in a very annoying way lately, and that is by design, because if I don't, my videos don't go up. But if you want, you can listen to me on the other channels, and I will hopefully be more clear in my speech and less annoying to listen to. Having said all of that, I haven't much else to say right now. I just want to inform you that this is my new topic that I shall be putting up, and I don't know if I will here or not, so I made this tube review video. Thank you, God bless, and goodbye.